Hi and welcome everybody. Today I have a very special guest who basically has lived through more than most people have carried in their whole life. And she's still young. She's going to introduce herself in a second. I just want to introduce her on my behalf and welcome her from the bottom of my heart. So I want to welcome Jess Louise. She's been through a lot. She's been through relationship trauma, chronic illness. She has had a head injury that changed basically how her brain and her body worked. And somewhere inside of all this, all these experiences, she found a thing, her passion, that she now spends her life helping people and teaching people basically how to heal on their own terms and in their own pace without anyone else's timeline attached. So that's basically her gift that evolved from within, I can say. That's from what I understand. But let's give her the space to introduce herself. Jess, welcome very much to the Self Worth Accelerator podcast today. I'm so happy to have you here. We only met through Instagram, basically exchanging our ourselves on posts, and I was fascinated by what you posted and how you showed up and how you spoke in front of so many people about your books. So you've written 4 books. You're a certified coach now for well-being, for trauma-informed coach you are, and especially also with the passion for spirituality. So welcome, Jess, and I'm so happy to have you here today.
Well, thanks, Sonia. Thanks for such a warm welcome. And yes, all of that is definitely sums up my past 10 years of life, really, and
Mm,
my 20s, and just the kind of roller coaster of health injuries and health illness I went through early in my 20s, and how I've kind of like transformed that into my own healing, but also into helping others heal as well.
mm. How old
Um,
are you now, Jess?
so now I'm 33 years old, and so this all
Mm,
had happened through my 20s.
mm. Yeah, I want to dive, let's dive right in. I just want to, I'm so eager to introduce you to people because how I see you is like a huge inspiration for people who have had such trauma or deep trauma or experiences, negative experiences in life. And I think the way you handle that, I just want to go right there. Like, just take me back or take us and, back the listener as well to the moment where your body said, I can't do this anymore, or where you were really at a point where you thought, this is it, I'm giving up. So do you remember the time, or how did you experience those moments of really, yeah, negative experiences basically accumulating? I think it was several, and when you were feeling good again, it kind of, you got another um, dip, basically.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
true.
that kind of explains it well. Like, I kind of go up and then down and then up again and then big down again through my 20s, just with between Lyme disease and then a head injury and then adding the relationship trauma through all of that. Yeah, it was a lot. And basically, like, it all kind of started early in my 20s, and you know, as I'm working on my next book now, I just was working on a chapter where I kind of wrote out my healing journey, and so it's nice and fresh from working
Good.
on that, which is nice. But
Excellent. Mm.
yeah, I was early in my 20s, I was training to be a triathlete. So I had just finished running a half marathon, and I wanted to take that into being or into completing my first Olympic triathlon. And Olympic, I mean, in terms of like the length, the distances, I think it's called like an Olympic triathlon or something like
Mm.
that in terms of the distances. But Um, yeah, so it was gonna be like a big race, and I was training both on for people who don't know triathlon, it's like biking, running, and swimming. And I grew up as a competitive swimmer, as a runner, and so this was like really a big thing for me. And um, so I was very fit, and I was very like I was quite healthy, but I guess like looking back, I had missed signs, that my body had been kind of showing me over the years that maybe like even though I felt healthy and I was fit and active, which to me that meant I was healthy, right? But my body was showing me slowly over the years signs that maybe I wasn't like completely healthy. I'd get chronic bladder infections, chronic throat infections. And anytime I got sick, I would get really sick, or if I didn't get enough sleep, I would get really sick. So I just had kind of struggled with my immune system early, like in my teenage years. And then, yeah, one day in my early 20s, like I got all of a sudden like so sick that I went from, like I said, training for a triathlon to not even being able to walk up a set of stairs. Like I just couldn't do it in terms of my energy. I was just so exhausted. I'd go to work and then I'd come home and I would just sleep. I would sleep from like 6 p.m. all the way to the next morning because my body just needed that amount of sleep. And like I went to the doctors, I tried to figure out what was going on. The first doctor I had seen had kind of diagnosed me with like mono, but it ended up turning into this whole year and a half illness, which eventually got diagnosed as Lyme disease. And to me, they were kind of one and the same illness, Lyme disease and mono from my experience. But yeah, it ended up being that it took me a year and a half to fully recover from that. It was about like a year before I got like a Lyme disease diagnosis where I like fully understood what was happening, what I could do to heal. And that itself was traumatic, like trying to navigate the healthcare system, trying to find a diagnosis, not knowing what was going on with my body and getting like sicker and sicker every day. The anxiety that came with that was so hard and so real, like not knowing what's going on
Mm,
with my body, not knowing like if I was gonna die, like do I have cancer and they just can't find it?
mm, mm,
Like these were constantly things that I was going through, and it was frustrating because a lot of the tests would come back with, slight markers off, but nothing that was like
mm.
really,
That is the worst, isn't it? That
yeah,
is the worst time when there's nothing, when you see the symptoms, you feel the symptoms, but you can't
yeah,
put your finger on it. Yeah.
yeah. And the doctors
Wow.
just kind of like that I was seeing were just like kind of dismissing, because it was like nothing on the tests were showing up. So yeah, I had to become my own advocate in that sense. Like
Mm,
I had to do my own research. I had to figure out how to heal myself because I just felt like I wasn't finding the help I needed elsewhere. And so I really became my own coach and advocate in that way. And
mm,
I
mm,
spent, it became like a full-time job healing for me, like reading about food. And like from the day one, like I knew food was going to play such a big part in my healing. I knew I needed to really change my diet because, um, like I would say my diet was, not unhealthy before. I thought it was like, decently healthy. I didn't eat a ton of processed foods or fast foods, but that said, I
mm,
would still have those on occasion. And, you know, I ended
mm,
up, from what I learned in my healing journey, like doing more research and stuff into food that, yeah, obviously a whole food, plant-based diet where we're getting more of these more natural whole foods is really more supportive. And so I ended up changing my diet completely from like the standard American diet to one that was, as I mentioned, whole food, plant-based. And that really, really kind of helped me heal. And a big part of my healing journey as well. And I talk about this author a lot on my Instagram page, but medical medium Anthony William, his books were like a lifesaver for me, and it
mm,
really ties into the spiritual part of my healing too, because I was praying through all of this a lot, and somehow I came across his work, and it really just felt like a divine like answer to my prayers. And when I came across his books, it just completely opened a new door for me in terms of healing naturally and using food and like herbal medicine and
Mm.
everything that I felt like I needed to understand was kind of, like to heal was in his books. And I was just like,
Mm.
oh my goodness, this is so amazing. Like, and I just kind of dove into that because at that point I was only getting sicker and sicker and didn't really have like any other options. I felt because I was kind of left to heal on my own. I felt through all of this, and all of the advice I had kind of been given before was really just making my situation worse, making my illness worse. So I really in that moment when I came across his work decided to shift from going to what I was being told to trusting myself and trusting what my soul was saying, and that was like heal with the food, heal with the
So,
natural herbs and natural plant medicines, and so I went with that, and I ended up like slowly improving with my with Lyme disease symptoms. And at the worst point in through all of that illness, I think I had like a list of 50 symptoms. So like I was really quite sick. I even had like a near death experience through that. I was so sick at one point. Uh,
really?
yeah, so just like
Mm.
being able to recover from that is like a huge miracle for me and
Mm.
myself. Like I didn't ever think I would be back to normal in terms of like making a recovery and being able to go back to my career and like
Mm.
not like being able to even exercise again, like that wasn't even like I just wanted to not be in pain anymore. Like that was my biggest thing in that situation and to not die. Like I was like, I'm too young. I still have so much I want to do, and so being able to come out of that and kind of feel empowered through natural healing and self-help books really changed my life and inspired me to become a wellness coach and to help others find their own healing, as you said, like in their own way, through
Mm.
self-help or whatever resonates with them. But one thing I do love about like self-help books is that it doesn't cost you as much money as it does to repeatedly go see an expensive doctor or a specialist, and you can acquire so many of these self-help books that have so much wisdom in them. And yeah, it was just such a life-changing part of my health
I
journey
love,
was coming
I
across self-help
yeah,
books.
I love that. And as much as I love it, find it also very saddening that that's the case that mm, I'm just generalizing here, but I'm in Germany. I'm Irish. live in Germany at the moment, and you're in Toronto. I believe at the moment, and it's basically, but it's globally that this health system, the normal traditional school health system here, what people learn, what doctors, professors learn, it just doesn't resonate with my learning or what I hear from you right now, because it's really about what you say, this self of, because we're all individuals, plus it's not taking into consideration how much power and capacity the body has to heal itself if it's given the space and the platform, and if we're connected and we're feeding it with healthy nourishment and nutrition.
Yeah.
That's what you're describing, and I think that's so amazing, plus what you turned it into now. So sorry, I just wanted to say that it's just amazing how you discovered that for yourself and managed to implement it into your life all by yourself. It's fascinating. So please proceed
Yeah,
what
thank
you
you.
did.
Yeah, so I think like when it comes to chronic illness specifically, so something like Lyme disease, I feel like there's at least in my specific experience in my specific case of Lyme. I felt like there was multiple things kind of building up over the years that had contributed. As I mentioned before, I wasn't always on a healthier diet. I was on a standard American diet. So I think over time, these chronic illnesses build up in the body and it shows us signs, and sometimes we're not really in tune to those signs. And so I think in this sense, when it's not like an urgent emergency health situation, when it becomes more chronic, that is really when like plant-based foods, detoxing and like cleansing and herbal medicines, like that's when these types of, I think, approaches can be helpful because you're supporting your body's natural ability to heal. Like I always say this, and and I think sometimes we forget because we're only here for a short time in our bodies. But when you think about the human body, like it's been here for years. Like the human body itself, like separate from you and I, for instance, is so like it's ancient. It holds wisdom, in our genes and our DNA, in our body. Like this like wisdom is passed on from generation to generation. And I think sometimes we're so in the moment and we just think of our body as our own body living, in this lifespan from like when we're born to, however long we live. But the truth is like our body is so intelligent. Like it knows so much. It's carried so much through the way that information is passed on through the body, right? And through generation, through DNA and genetics or whatever you want to call it. But
Mm.
it holds that intelligence and it knows how to heal. We just have to be able to listen to your body. And that's a lesson for the soul I talk about
Exactly.
in one of my books. Listen to your
Exactly.
body. That was the first soul lesson I learned on my healing journey because I really
Mm.
needed to start paying attention to it because it communicates to us in ways like pain,
Mm.
illness, disease. Like these are ways our body is asking us to pay more attention, to take care of it more naturally, to
Mm.
integrate more self-care and healing. So yeah, I think like it's a lot of my healing journey has been learning to trust my body more and to understand that like our body does know how to heal and it wants to heal and it has the intelligence to heal. We just have to learn how to listen to it and learn how to support it in the best way
Yeah,
we can.
exactly. And it doesn't even have to be through pain or to the extreme of chronic disease. I think even on a daily basis, like people, when you're feeling exhausted or when your body says, I need sleep, listen
Yes.
to it. It's okay, it's okay to lie down and just rest if the body claims it. But obviously, if it continues and then, it can also mean something. So there's something not
Sure.
quite right, but that's what you mean, no? That's exactly
Yeah.
what you mean. Listen to it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
act accordingly. Mm,
Yeah. And to your point, like maybe sometimes it just needs a quick nap, and maybe if that doesn't work, then it's indicating there's something deeper going on, right? That needs
exactly. Mm,
investigation and
mm,
support. But yeah, so that was a really big lesson for me, and later through my healing, through my injuries and illnesses in my 20s, I later, as you mentioned, went through a concussion injury, and this is where
mm,
that lesson became very, very hard for me because anytime I looked at a screen after this traumatic brain injury, my head it would feel like someone hit me in the back of the head with like a cast iron pan. Like it hurt so much. I would get so sick and nauseous just from even looking at a screen that had a light on it for like a minute. I would just be completely disabled, like throwing up, like it would just be really, really bad. So for me, it became really challenging to learn how to listen to my body during that time because I really had to respect that it could not look at a screen anymore, that it could not be in like bright lights anymore, and learning to respect and listen to it that time was very challenging because it was during the middle of the COVID pandemic. So
Mm.
everything was on a screen. Everyone,
Wow.
like the only way to
Mm.
communicate was on a screen, right? So all of a sudden I found myself very isolated because I could no longer look at a screen. Um, and here in Canada, it's quite dark during the winter, so not having light in the winter also was very challenging. So it became, but I knew anytime I did do that, it was going to put my body in re healing and recovery, back.
Mm.
So I did my best to learn how to respect what my body was communicating in those moments. Like if I went on the screen and it was saying, nope, this I'm not ready to do this. Like I had to learn to be like, okay, I will try again, in another week, or I will try something else to better support you so that next time I do look at a screen or am in a bright light, like it's not as painful. Um, but yeah, so I think it really, and that lesson was so important for me in my concussion recovery because ultimately it's really what helped me heal. And I do feel like it was a lesson for me in this lifetime, like a big lesson, like learning to listen to my body because I'm like a very hard worker and I want to like push past the pain and I want to like push past like everything that's going on because I'm like very driven and determined, and I want to get out there to help people heal and I felt like this was holding me back and not allowing me to do that. And so every fiber in my soul was like, oh, I want to go on the screen even though it hurts, but um, I had to really learn and say, no, I need to listen to my body. This is the lesson it's going through right now.
Mm.
And this is kind of what my book Lessons for the Soul is about because once you do step into these lessons, then I start to heal and I start to get better. And it's kind of like once you step into these lessons, you allow um, your life to open up to more abundance and ease because you're not resisting the lesson. Whereas if I continued to like not listen to my body, like I might have continued to go on to that lesson for longer than I did. So yeah, it was and my book Lessons for the Soul really kind of came out of my concussion injury as well. My healing from concussion injury because I wasn't able to look at a screen. I was just like really like starting to tune in more spiritually. Okay, like why am I going through this? And I know like we kind of talked about how I went up and down in my 20s. So this is that was the moment like when I had my concussion and had to step away from like my career for a second time after healing from Lyme. That was really when I was like, okay, I need to listen now. Like, what are you trying to show me, universe? Like I
Mm.
just healed, I just went through and now I'm going through something so difficult again. So I'm listening. Like it literally put me in a situation where all I could do was listen, right? Like I couldn't look at screens. There was no distractions anymore. It was just me. So
Yes, but looking back, I mean, that is that is amazing. So each book or each step or move you made into the direction where you are now was or derived from a different symptom, or do I understand it correctly? Like every book evolved, you say this one now, especially from the concussion to go inside, and that is in itself. How do you evaluate this? I mean, it all makes kind of sense now.
yeah, I think like obviously, when I was in the moment of those illnesses and injuries and in the darkest point of those,
Mm.
like there were points where I wanted to give up. I just couldn't see a way forward, but I didn't really have a choice, right? So I continued. And I think like back then I didn't understand everything that was going on and why it was all happening. And I definitely wrestled a lot spiritually with it. Like, and this is where my like a lot of self-worth came into this. A lot of self-worth healing and like, obviously I think a lot of people when they go through like traumatic experiences like this, whether it's a traumatic injury or a traumatic illness where they're very close to death or they're so injured that they're completely disabled, like you ask yourself, like, why, why am I going through this? What did I do, to have
Mm.
this happen to me? Did I deserve to have this happen to me? Did I hurt someone else? And so now this is happening to me, like I went
Mm.
through like months of that, like trying to understand why this experience kept coming up for me, and because it obviously Lyme and then concussion, it was kind of like a pattern I was noticing now. And so yeah, it was very challenging to kind of break through that phase of my healing and not fall into like a victim mindset, because there were times I did, like, oh, why is this
Yes.
happening to me? And a large part of that healing was learning to shift away from that victim mindset into a more like accountable mindset, into a more empowered mindset where I started to see, okay, well, maybe this isn't happening to me, but instead for me, because now after going through all those experiences, I have gained so much understanding and knowledge and wisdom and how to help others heal. So maybe the reason I experienced this wasn't necessarily, because I did something bad, but it was really to help me learn how to help others. Like sometimes you have to experience it, to really know how to help others. And maybe that was my purpose. That is my purpose, which I do feel, in my soul it is. Um,
Absolutely. That's exactly the word that just popped into my mind. It was just like, even though it's such a hardship to have to go through, but it is your purpose, and it brought you to this place through
yeah,
resistance, through feeling, like a victim or pity for yourself. That's all legitimate. And I think we all are entitled to those phases
yeah,
when we feel sorry for ourselves. We need that, let it be a day or a few weeks, or it's it's legit. It's fine.
yeah,
However, how you manage to navigate yourself back into empowerment. That's why I'm so happy to have you here to inspire people, or that's how you are inspiring people now through your books or through your coachings or your classes or your sessions. That is so powerful, exactly. And for myself as well, the biggest growth always happens through being rock bottom, through being challenged, being confronted with the opposite to ease, when it's hard, when there's resistance. And the thing is that there are people who give up, who don't try to get through this resistance. But the
yeah,
people who do, like you and like I did in the past, it's when you go through this resistance and you come out on the other side stronger, more empowered, and having found your purpose. And
yeah.
that's where the power lies. And that's so beautiful. Do you wanna share with us a bit about how you coach, or how you help people, actually, how you practice your.
Yeah, so a big part of obviously I did some education in coaching wellness. I did 1 to 2 years, I think, at Wellness Coaching Australia. But mostly where I really learned, how to coach was through my own experiences, because there was a time in all of that where I literally like I couldn't afford to go get the help that I needed, the coaching that I needed, or the, counseling that I needed through all of that. So I really, as I said previously, like kind of had to become my own advocate and kind of learn how to navigate these difficult situations on my own. And there's a couple turning points along my journey during one of my concussion appointments with the doctor. He mentioned something about like locus of control, and this is essentially where you are able to become more aware of how you can make choices that can influence your future and your outcome It's essentially really being able to come out of that victim mindset and into a more empowered mindset where you really, instead of focusing on everything you can control, you start to focus in on more, okay, what can I control about this situation? And
Exactly.
so this really was a moment on my healing journey that changed like how I was approaching these situations and thinking about these situations, I realized I was thinking so much about what I couldn't control. I can't control that I got the concussion. I can't control how long it took my body to heal. I can't
Mm,
control the relationship trauma I was experiencing, and I couldn't control the fact I got sick with Lyme disease. But what I
mm,
could control is the choices I made around those relationships, the choices I made to heal my body, the choices I made to improve my life, really to find healing. Like that was all within my control. So my it was about probably like a few months where I really took this and did a lot of reading into locus of control and really um embraced it. And I ended up developing and on my own to help myself work through what I was going through a coaching method, which I call now Reclaim, Control, and Thrive Again coaching method. So, yeah, I've turned it into a coaching method I now use to help other people heal and uh, not so much heal, but to find their way through their hardships. It's about being able to find your way through challenges. And it really is about helping you understand and refocus on what is within your control in this situation. And you can really apply it to any kind of like hardship
mm,
or challenge you're going through. And
mm,
yeah, it's really about
mm,
supporting those who are going through hardship and helping them find what is within their control and kind of like working with them through those choices to help them find what might work best for them
mm,
out of those choices. And it's about like setting smart goals and then kind of translating those actions into smart goals and then into a path forward that's reasonable for the person. Because
mm,
obviously, if you're going through something that's hard, you don't want to sit there and set like 5 goals for yourself in one week. Like
mm.
it's too
It has
much,
to be
right? So,
realistic. Yeah, baby
yes,
steps,
which is
smart
part of
steps.
smart goal setting, right?
Yeah,
Realistic.
exactly.
So, yeah, that's basically
Mm,
my coaching approach in a nutshell. But of course, everyone's situation is different, and sometimes the approach needs to be more flexible and
mm,
evolve and to work with the person. But yeah, that's a basic, and I think it's really about empowering, the person who's going through that hardship, because once you can help them figure out what is in your control about the situation, it can really help them feel
mm,
less hopeless and less powerless and like more resilient. It can help them
mm.
step into this feeling of being more resilient. And I think that is important on any healing journey, really,
No
to be,
matter how big, how small, exactly.
yeah, to be able to feel
Mm,
like you can make a small change, whether it's big or small, just by making
mm,
one single choice that you feel is within your control, then
mm.
like that's powerful. And let's say it's
Exactly.
like something like, you're just not feeling 100% lately in terms of your mindset and, your outlook and how happy you are. And so
Mm,
what's in your choice within that?
mm,
Maybe your daily choices would become something like, okay, which we talked about previously, actually, like limiting what you're following on social media to accounts that only bring you happiness. Um,
mm.
Making a choice to listen to a song that brings you happiness every day.
Yeah.
Setting aside 5 minutes to read a book that makes you happy. Like these are all choices that you can make and to kind of
Mm,
bring your spirit up, your mood up. So yeah, it's really about helping people discover what is within their circle of control and helping them, yeah, kind of integrate that in ways that are
mm.
sustainable for them and life-changing for them as well.
I love that. And that brings me to the spiritual side as well, because what you just described is exactly that, on a daily basis, how we have the power. And I always say, you know, every, basically, really every problem can be solved through
Yes, I love
awareness.
that.
Yeah,
I think that too all the time.
really. Yeah,
Because
me too.
we're in a show, and anytime now I run into a problem, I say that every problem can be solved. So I love that mindset.
True. It's true. It is always a way. And
Yeah,
my mantra is also everything always works out. It might
yeah,
take long, it might be really hard and really bad, but there is always something on the other side. And what you just described as well, I just thought about the vibration, the spiritual side of things. If we want to call it spiritual, because I think it's science, it's high
yeah,
energy, it's quantum physics, and
for
it's
sure.
available for all of us. And if you say that, do something small, listen to a nice song. I mean, my happy place is driving the car and listening to great music or a great podcast or whatever. That makes me happy. It's like medicine. And finding this place of happiness for yourself and then gradually, yeah, just do it, no? Practice it on a daily basis and have those morning routines or evening routines and everything. And I mean, this is basic now, just basic, to feel good, yeah, and to perhaps achieve the things that you want to achieve. Of course, when you're in a place of suffering and pain and everything, whether it's mental or physical, it's it's easier said than done. But that's
Yeah,
exactly where you and I, where we come in and say, hey,
yeah,
there's a problem for you. But I follow who I love is Brooke Castillo. I don't know, she's a life coach as well in the States. And she breaks it down so beautifully. And she sometimes says to her clients, she said, yeah, and so what? When they
yeah,
come and spill out and this is wrong and this is wrong and this is terrible and this is awful. Yeah, so
yeah,
what? And they say, what do you mean, so what? Have you no empathy? What, you can't say so what because I'm suffering here. But it's
yeah,
all about your awareness, and the
yeah,
what you make of it, how you interpret the things that are happening on the outside. And you're the only one who can, like you said earlier on, make a choice. Do I
yeah,
want to suffer? Do I want to be the victim? Or do I want to empower myself and take control of the situation? Baby
yeah,
steps. And yes, sometimes we need a coach or we need somebody to guide us through this. And
yeah,
it's, but there's always a way. There's
yeah.
always a way.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is sometimes when you're in that place, it's sometimes impossible to see a way.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
so having a coach can really help you brainstorm. If you're
absolutely.
having trouble, like they might see something differently because of
Mm,
their experiences. But yeah, I do believe if, sometimes maybe there's not always a way to like fix the problem in the way you want it fixed. Like
mm,
for instance, maybe there's something that's beyond repair, but at the end of the day, there's still ways forward. It might not be that exact way, but how can we make the best of
mm,
a very difficult situation? Like, what choices can we make that help you
mm,
move forward from this in a more comfortable, a more like positive way than you know you
mm,
currently are in this situation, like how can we better support you in a way that yeah, just gets you to a better place, really. Um,
mm,
and sometimes, yeah, like I said, it's not like solving the issue you want fixed at first. Like sometimes it takes a long time to solve something. Like for instance, with my concussion, it took multiple years, for the pain to go away. And if I went to a coach and said, like, I want this pain gone, I want this fixed,
mm,
I mean, that's not realistic, right?
mm,
I
mm,
have to respect the time it takes my body to heal. And as much as I wanted that, it wasn't focusing on that at that
mm,
time wasn't probably going to move me forward as much as focusing on smaller things
mm,
around that could make me happier in the moment, like going
Yes,
for a
yes.
walk every day to help my body relax, which helps my
Mm,
body heal over time, you know. Um,
mm,
allowing like daily allowing my body to take the time it needs to heal and respecting that and taking the time when I was able to find the capacity to do some more research and look at what worked for others, to get another
mm,
book when I could, to learn about other ways to heal. Like, so yeah, I think it's about holding that vision. Like that's where visions and goals come in, right? You
mm,
can have
mm-hmm,
hold that vision. Okay, I want to like heal from this concussion, but right now, like that's the vision.
mm-hmm.
Smaller goals are going to be about what's in my control.
Yeah, what can I do right now at this point? And what,
Yeah.
like you said, what makes me feel better? It's
Yeah.
just about being a little bit better, even if it's just a tiny bit better, but just, and then, you get this, the dopamine, the brain experiences some better feeling and it likes, it's just growing slowly into that other version, no? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but like you said earlier, and I think that's very important to point out, every soul, every body is a individual,
Yeah.
complex being, an individual being. And we have to look at the individual. Where are you at right now?
Yeah.
See, what I appreciate so much here is our meeting you today and hearing you speak and seeing the books you wrote that are available. You can tell us in a minute, but is to give people hope and to give people the belief that it's not over. It's not that bad. And that's also my passion, my purpose in this life, which I found very late. I studied languages, but I found my passion also through hardship, through divorce, through pain at the age of 40, the early 40s. And I was, I loved it. I just love having this task in life, this purpose in life. And that's what it's about for everybody. I want everybody to find their purpose because finding the purpose also is invigorating, energizing, and is also fulfilling for the body and the soul.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
that's what it's about really. In this short, like you said in the beginning, this short life that we have here in this physical body right now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's what it's about.
And I think
Yeah.
one thing, like you mentioned hope there, one thing that always stayed with me through all of these hardships, like when there were days I did think, oh, I don't think I'm ever going to get better. I think I'm going to have
Mm,
this disability, this injury for the rest of my life. There were days
mm,
I thought about that, but then, I always reminded myself of this one thing, and that it really helped anchored my hope, and that was that change is constant. Like we talked about, you talked about the energy, the metaphysics. Well, I do think there's like this universal law that things are always changing. Like nothing, when you think about it, really
mm,
stays the same and stays constant. Um,
mm,
so I think like with my healing, that was something I really kind of hung my hat on, is like things are always changing. Whether, for me, what happened was technology changed to a point where now I can look at a screen because there's technology out there that doesn't have backlight all the
mhm,
time. Now,
mm,
speaking with you over a screen
mm.
that doesn't have a backlight. And that changed the trajectory for me of my
Yeah,
recovery
yeah.
rehabilitation because all of a sudden now I could use screens again. And so this is, but like, a year into my recovery, it wasn't that way. And I was, in that like mindset, like, oh, this
Mm,
I'm not gonna see or find my way out of this. And then, wow, look at that, like a year later, there were some technology changes and the technology was available for me to really rehabilitate. And whether that's change within your body, change within technology, change within society, change within,
mm,
your relationship dynamics, things are just always changing. And I think, yeah, holding on to hope with that really helped me because
mm,
it really showed me that as things change, sometimes new opportunities arise and new uh, avenues to healing, new avenues to
Mm,
recovery
I
open
love
up.
that.
Hmm.
Love that. Love that. Yeah. So just, yeah, thank you so much for
Of
sharing
course.
your story. And if, when listeners or people want to find you, would you want to share where they can find your books or where they can find you? I'm going to obviously put the links in the show notes later on, but do you want to share where they can find your books, especially?
Yeah, that would be great. So all my books are available on Amazon Marketplace website. So if you have access to Amazon, you can order through Amazon online. You can also order all my books through my website. So my business name is Thrive Again Wellness, and you can find my website through all my social media accounts as well. So for Instagram, you can find me at Thrive Again Wellness, and same with YouTube and TikTok. So yeah, pretty easy to find that way. And
Mm,
I'm always also open to chatting with people and of
yeah,
course, always there to help coach if that's what they're interested in. But I also love just connecting with people and hearing their
exactly.
stories as well. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, sharing that healing journey with people, I think is very special. And yeah.
Brilliant. Yes, absolutely. That's an inspiration and a anchor in itself for people. I love that. So, yeah, thank you so much, Jess. Thank you for being here today. And I'm going to put all the links in the show notes. And yeah, just reach out to Jess if you have any story or resonance with her. So lovely to have you here today and talk soon.
Thanks. Yeah, it was so great to join your show. Thank you. Thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.